YouTube? I'm back again today for another game review. And today I'm very excited to check it out. Harvest from Tasty Minstrel Games. This is for 2 to 4 players. Take about 30 to 60 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 plus. And Harvest is a worker placement game in which you are going to be building your own farm. You're going to be planting seeds, turning them into crops, tending to those crops, harvesting those crops, spending your valuable seeds and crops in order to acquire buildings and do a variety of different actions. It is a light, simple worker placement game which takes place in the same universe as Harbor. But do I like it? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, so we're going to take a look at what's going to get inside of Harvest. So first and foremost, we got our handy dandy rule sheet. It's one large page, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. This just goes over the different actions you'll be able to take. It's actually a really clear and concise rule booklet. So a huge thumbs up on the rule booklet. Should have you up and running in no time at all. Also, I can give you a good feel for how the game works right now. So in Harbor, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be building a farm down here. You're going to be planting seeds. You're going to be getting crops. You're going to be spreading manure and using water to mend and doing a whole variety of other things, collecting some of these various different cards, which give you victory points and special abilities, taking special actions. There's actually a lot going on for what's a relatively simple game. But let's go down and I'll show you exactly all the components and the gameplay. So first over here, we got a whole bunch of tokens and a bunch of different stuff. The cardboard pop-outs, those are going to be the different crops and seeds you'll be able to get. And then you're going to have these tokens up here, which you'll use for a variety of different things. And I'll talk about those a little bit later. Now over here is going to be really the star of the show. There's a main board right here, which is going to have actions that you'll be able to take. And I'll go over some of those actions a little bit later. They're all relatively self-explanatory. Harvesting, planting, tending, being able to acquire various different goods over in that stack over there, building different buildings, getting more land and making your land a little bit bigger, doing a variety of different actions. And on your turn, you're only going to have 2 workers because this is a worker placement game. Up here, you are going to have actions that you'll be able to take. So we talked about how these actions will be here. This is a board, so they're always here. But there's also going to be 3 actions up here for people to potentially take, and those actions will be changing throughout the game. And this is also another aspect of this game that's really cool, is this is how many cards you use for a 3-player game. This is how many cards you will not be using for a 3-player game. So you are definitely going to get a little bit of variability on which cards you happen to use for the game. Next, you're going to have these structures over here. And these structures will give you victory points, and they might give you just flat victory points. So for instance, this one's going to give you 4 victory points. Or they might have different ways that you'll be able to earn victory points at the end of the game. So +2 if you have harvested 4 pumpkins, or +4 if you've harvested 7 pumpkins. Plus, it's automatically going to give you 2 victory points. So these are a great way to get a lot of victory points. Last but not least up here, we have the initiative cards. And the initiative cards I will explain a little bit more in a second, but what you need to know is the lower numbers are going to allow you to go first, which means you can place your workers first, but at the same time, they're going to give you less immediate benefits, kind of your typical worker placement thing. Last but not least, you're going to have a whole big stack of character cards. At the beginning of the game, you're going to get 2 character cards, and you'll pick which one you would like to play, and each one has their own different quirks. Which is really kind of cool. Each one is slightly different, and you are going to want to try a bunch of these different characters. They're also all double-sided, but on the back, they all just have this Will guy, and he's the most boring character in the game. They do recommend starting with Will if it's your first game. I would recommend starting with Will if you're new to gaming and you don't play too many other games. I think if you play a lot of worker placement games, you can easily just go to the backside, but it is nice that this is an option. He just gives you 15 points at the end of the game, so pretty straightforward. Also, another thing to note is on the bottom right here, this is what you were going to start with. And I've already acquired those things for this character right here. So let's go ahead and talk about what you're going to be doing, how a typical turn works, and what the different actions are. So, at the beginning of the game, everybody's going to get 1 initiative card, and this is just going to decide who gets to pick initiative first. You ignore all this stuff on the bottom. So we deal out a 5, a 7, and 11, which means I would actually get to pick out initiative first. And how this works is I get to replace my 5 with any of these cards over here. And when I do that, I need to be cognizant of a couple things. So first, do I want to go first, or do I want to go second, or do I want to go third? Because if I take the highest number out there, I'm probably going to go last. Next, what special abilities on the card? Because when you pick up one of these cards, you immediately get to do one of the special abilities on the card, which is definitely something that you want to think about. So, for instance, you know what? I really just want to kind of stockpile. So, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace my 8 or my 5 with this 8, and then I immediately take this special ability, which means I would get one of these seeds right here, which is great. And I'd also get one pile of manure. And then I just tuck this right up here to let people know the turn order that I have an 8. So maybe this guy takes the 10, and this guy ends up taking the 2. Which in this case would mean he would go first, I would go second, and this person would go third. So you're going to do that at the beginning of every round to figure out turn order, but also to gain various different special abilities. And these will all be wiped. We'll get 3 new ones, and you will rinse, wash, repeat that every single round. Pretty self-explanatory. So next, what you're going to get to is you're going to get to the farmer placement phase. This is where you're going, really the heart of the game. You're going to place your farmer in a variety of different spots in order to do different things. So let's talk about the different actions that you will be able to take. So first thing, we'll start over here. We'll go to the land office. You can expand your farm. And that's pretty simple. What you're going to do is, boom, you just put this right here, and now your farm is a little bit bigger. It means you're going to have more plots of fields where you'll be able to put different things. Next, you'll be able to build a structure, which is this one right here. And building a structure means you can build one of these right there. Or if you go right here, you can get one of these. So this is going to be an open field. It will get you 1 victory point at the end of the game. But it also is going to allow you to plant more crops there. Now, if you decide to build instead, you have to pay 2 coins. And the coins you pay, you will actually have to physically pay by spending seeds or by spending crops. So seeds are going to have less points on them, but once they're bloomed and they're crops, they're going to be worth more points. There is no change in this game, so you want to spend exact change. How you build something is pretty simple. What you're going to do is you're just going to pay the cost, which in this case, pay 2, and then you're going to put whatever you want, and you'll put it on one of your empty lock spaces like so. Very self-explanatory. If you wanted to take this action, though, of course, you have to boom, go right there. Now, it says on here, this is for 2 players, this is for 3 and 4 players, and these spots up here will let you choose 2 of these actions. However, if you go down here, you only get to choose 1 of those actions, and that's how it works at all the different spots. So that's the land office. Next, we have the general store. It's pretty simple. It's going to allow you to purchase different things. So these 5 will all be free, but once you start getting to these ones, you're going to have to pay a certain number of coins. Obviously, the more lucrative crops are going to cost you more money, and the cheaper crops are not going to cost you as much money. Pretty self-explanatory. There's the general store. Last, we have the labor market, and this is really the heart of the game. This is going to allow you to harvest, plant, or tend. So, let's talk about planting, because that's the first one. So planting is pretty easy. How you're going to do this is you are going to plant your crops, and your crops plant your seeds. As I mentioned, the ones with the silver stars are the seeds, and you have to pay the same number of poop. So boom, you gotta lay down the fertilizer, and then you can start planting stuff. Pretty self-explanatory. You lay it down, you pay the cost, and now you flip it over, and boom, I've got a crop growing right there. Good for me. Next, you can tend to it, and that means watering it, which means you'll have to make it grow, which means you're going to need the water tokens right here. You pay the number of water tokens to the number of stars that you have on there, and then it grows. So let's just pretend I had 4 water. I pay 4 water, and boom, that goes from being 1 thing there to now being 2 things there, which is 8 victory points. Pretty easy. Last but not least is harvesting, and this one's pretty straightforward. You just pick up anything you want to pick up, and you put it face up in front of you so that you remember that it is a crop, and it's going to get you victory points that you'll be able to spend or use at the end of the game. So those are the actions. Harvest, plant, tend. That's really the bulk of what you're going to be doing in the game. You're going to acquire seeds so you can plant those seeds, so you can tend to the seeds and spread the seeds so you can build buildings. Also, you're going to have these special abilities up here. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. For instance, this one's going to get 2 pea pods and 2 poop. This one's going to give you rice, oranges, a poop, and it's going to allow you to plant, but it's going to cost you to pay 1 star to go there. And you'll get 3 new ones of those each and every round. Anywho, at the end of the game, you're going to count up the number of stars you have, both silver and gold stars for seeds and crops. Whoever has the most stars will win the game. You'll know the game is over because you'll run out of these cards. You finish that round, and whoever has the most will be the winner of Harbor. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Harvest from Tasty Minstrel Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First on the con side, 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. Another comment I have this game, and this is a me personally con. Actually, nobody else had a problem with this, but it really kind of bugged me, was that the game was a little bit shorter than I would have liked it to be, which is not a con I normally bring up. Most of the time, it's like, oh, this game outstayed its welcome. No, this game, I wish it was just a little bit longer, oddly enough. I just, you start getting your farm going and running and churning, and then the game's over. And some people are going to like that. But for me personally, I just wished it was a little bit longer. Now, it's not going to detract from the fact that I'm going to tell you this is a fantastic game, and I wholeheartedly recommend this game, but it is something that I did want to mention. Another comment of this game is the theme. For some reason, it's based in the same universe as Harbor, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just because they like the monstery artwork. I don't dislike it. I just thought it was kind of odd. Everything I'm going to tell you is going to be a nitpick, to be brutally honest with you, though, because I don't really have too many big holes to poke in this game. Moving on to the pros, I really enjoyed Harvest. I liked it an awful lot, and I think most people are going to like it even more than I did. I know my wife in particular loved this game. And there's a lot to like about this game. So first and foremost, artwork-wise, the artwork's very well done. Component-wise, the components are top-notch. Everything is very clean and very clear and very concise. It's a very easy game to learn. It's a very easy game to teach. It's a short game. If you're playing as 2 players, you can knock a game out in about 20 to 30 minutes. Probably closer to 30 minutes, but still, 20 to 30 minutes for a game that gives you this many choices is a fantastic thing to have. Also, there's a lot of variability in this game. You are never going to see all the same buildings game to game to game, and you're never going to see all the same actions game to game to game, because as I mentioned, these are all the action cards that you weren't even using in a 3-player game. So especially if you're looking at this as a 2-player game, there will be different cards each time. Next, asymmetrical abilities. This is probably my favorite aspect of the whole freaking game, is look at all these characters. Look at all the character cards in the game. They weren't just like, here's 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. They're like, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different characters in the game. That's outstanding. And each one plays a little bit different. I like that. I also like the fact that you get 2 at the beginning of the game and you get to pick which one you like. And those really do kind of change how you play the game and mix up your strategy a little bit from game to game to game. And I like that an awful lot. I like how the initiative system works, where it's like, I really want that card because I want to go first, but at the same time, I get to take all this cool action down here if I take this card. I like those choices. There's not really too much bad I can say about this game. In the end, I really enjoyed Harvest, and I think other people are going to like it even more than me. If you're in the market for a lighter worker placement game that does not outstay its welcome, Harvest should definitely be on your radar. Oh, last but not least, it comes with a freaking poster, and this is genius. Why don't more game companies do this? So many game companies do this, where it's like, hey, check out our awesome games, but turn it into a poster at the same time. I'm hanging this poster up. I bet there's a lot of people who are like, yes, I want posters. I want posters from Days of Wonder. I want posters from AEG. I want posters for everybody. That, that's really not anything on the game itself, but I still think that's a great idea from Tasty Minstrel Games, who, by the way, sponsors the channel. But still, if this was a crap game, I would tell you it's a crap game. One last thing I forgot to mention is another big reason why I think a lot of people are going to like this game is the fact that it works as both a game night game and as a family game. If you have kids that I'd say are ages 12, 13, 14 plus, I think this is a game that you can really enjoy as a family, but there's enough meat on the bones to play it as a game night game as well, which is always something that I'm looking for in a game. But if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below and in the comments below. Let me know, would you ever want to be a farmer working on a farm? For me personally, hell no, that sounds terrible. That's a lot of hard work. It's hot, it's rainy, it's sweaty, it smells bad, it's dirty. No thank you. Any job where I have to take 2 showers a day, I'm out. I'm out, man. Let me know in the comments below. Farmer, would you like to do it? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.